Hello, dear friends, and welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show. I have been struggling this week with how to close out because the dystopian times that we are living in, they're wild. And it is taking everything in me not to just follow the breaking news of the moment and to really unpack what is underneath the dystopia. And so that's what we're going to do today is try and get underneath the mayhem instead of just remaining on the surface. We need to be asking ourselves bigger questions about this moment, why we're here and how we got here. Because I feel as if we don't understand truly how we got into this moment where our democracy is hanging on by a thread, we're never going to figure out how we fix it. And now, when I say fix it, I don't mean as if we're going to experience what comes post the fixing, because that is going to be for other generations. But what I mean by if we don't go back, we're going to keep creating the same cycle over and over again. So buckle up, friends. It is time for the Danielle Moodie Show. Grab your mocktail and your cocktail, and let's get into it. Ready? Welcome, everyone, to the Danielle Moodie Show. It is so great to be here with all of you today. I have been trying to figure out how to make sense of this current moment that we're in. And what I've said before is that I want to get to the underneath, right? I don't want to remain on the surface following the bouncing ball of fascism and everything that Donald Trump is saying and doing and who he's appointing to what and where. The fact is that none of that actually matters. I mean, it will, right? We know the harm that it's going to cause. We know the pain that people are going to be in, that we are all going to collectively experience. But at the end of the day, this is cyclical, right? What we are running through and what is happening. And I think that right now, again, what is being experienced through this killing, the murder of the United Healthcare CEO, is really drawing out the underneath, opening up the wound of America that has been ever present, but we've just keep patching up. The wound of inequality, right? Of economic inequality, of racial inequality, of gender inequality. Like, what has come up in 2024 and what's been coming up is the driving force behind the greed, right? The hatred that has gotten us here. And I continue to say that I am so disgusted with the current Democratic establishment right now because they seem to not learn anything, right? Like, and so what I realize and what I keep saying over and over again is that Democrats are not going to save us, right? I said that yesterday. Like, who is going to save democracy was the title yesterday and the theme that we were dealing with. And today, I'm kind of in this space of really like unpacking the greed that we are seeing, right? That we are all being exposed to. And wondering, like, how did we get to this point where these billionaires are just so insatiable, right? Like, it's never enough. Like, they don't have enough money, they don't have enough power. And it's because capitalism has had us worship them like they were the new gods, right? We have turned our eyes away from actual, right, religion, and we have all been worshiping capitalism. And so what does that mean? That means that those that are at the top of the pyramid, the 1%, right? We've looked at them and admired them and adored them, followed their shows, right? And follow their lives and say that they're better than us because they have more than us, but we've never actually asked ourselves why they have more to begin with. But the lie that's been told, the lie that's been sold is that if you have more, then you're inherently better. You're inherently smarter than the rest of us. We don't look at the people at the lower end of the economic pyramid and say, wow, how were they able to make a dollar stretch so far given that they have so little? That's real ingenuity, right? How you actually turn, right? How you make a dollar grow and go when you have so little. But no, we look and we glorify those at the top, and we never stop and question how they got that fucking money to begin with. I remember growing up actually on, and I will date myself, Scrooge McDuck, right? Scrooge McDuck had this huge house and palace, and he had his nephews that were living with him, and he had this vault, full of gold coins. And in that cartoon really taught you about capitalism and how money actually works. But the thing that we have not understood truly is that, like, there are those that started way ahead of the starting line. And so we've been fed the lie that if you just work hard enough, you'll be able to catch up to those that are wealthy because they inherited that wealth. So the lie of capitalism is that all you need to do is just work harder and work smarter. And those that are the wealthiest, they work the hardest and were, right, the smartest. That's the fucking gag. They're not. They just inherited their wealth. And then the rest of us are forced into the cogs of the machine, believing that if we just run faster, if we just do more, if we just produce more, then we'll catch up to them. So in this moment, we find ourselves, right? Like, we find ourselves reeling from this murder because it exposes so very much about all the things that are wrong. But we've been fed the lie that we were wrong, that if we're not wealthy, right, that if we don't have that security, then it must be on us rather than on the system that is keeping us stuck and keeping that kind of dollar floating in front of our faces that we're chasing after. And so what this murder has unearthed, right, is questioning, wait a minute, who actually is a murderer? Because now there are multiple definitions. And who should we really be chastising and questioning right now? So I come in today with just my mind super heavy and really trying to unpack the amount of lies that we have all been fed. And there's something about getting older that has me really believe that, like, learning never stops because we have to unlearn so much in order to get to the truth, which the big they, don't want us to actually see. This is why you ban books. This is why you threaten to shut down information networks. This is why Elon Musk bought Twitter and then destroyed it, because the little peons that they see us, the people were gathering, right? The people were communicating. which means that then we were all of a sudden going to realize that we weren't each other's problem. We all had the same enemy. But if you break down, right, modes of communication and don't allow people to assemble, then they'll readily eat the lies that you're feeding them because there'll be nothing to rebuff it. So Elon Musk saw Twitter, right? The billionaire class saw Twitter as a problem to be solved because the people are getting too ahead of themselves. The people are organizing too much. It's really wild when you start to think about it. And so today, I saw this post, right? And it read, "You can be driven into homelessness by someone like Brian Thompson." Brian Thompson being the CEO who was murdered from United Healthcare. "You can be driven into homelessness by someone like Brian Thompson, then legally murdered by someone like Daniel Penny, the man who killed Jordan Neely, the Black homeless man and street performer, by putting him in a chokehold and suffocating him to death. And he was just acquitted because he was supposedly helping the people on the train." He goes on to say, "While the money that could have saved you is spent on murdering children in Gaza." So let me read that again. "You can be driven into homelessness, bankrupted by a healthcare system that profits off of your despair and profits off of denying you access to life-saving healthcare. Then you can be legally murdered by a white vigilante on a train. And all the while, the money that you're paying into the system is being sent elsewhere to murder women, children, and men." Who is the depraved? Humanity is humanity and depravity is depravity. But this struck me. This struck me. And folks, no, because I have somebody in the comments that's telling me, "Oh no, like Jordan Neely, who was the person that was murdered. Daniel Penny is the person who killed him." People say, "Oh, well, Jordan Neely was threatening other people on the train." Yo, if you live in New York City, right? Like, there are lots of shit that pop off in the subway station. There are lots of things that pop off in the street all the time. Tell me why this former military man didn't release at some point the chokehold on Jordan Neely. Why is it acceptable for us to commit murder in broad daylight, but only when, right, we can say, "Oh, I feared for my life"? It's the same refrain, folks, that police officers and vigilantes have used in order to kill Black people. So that is my truth. I live in New York. There are people that are on these streets because of the mental health care system has failed them. So what this piece is saying right here, it's the system failed Jordan Neely, which had him on a train begging people, right? Begging for help, begging for a dollar. He was sick, right? And so then that day, it's okay for murder to be committed, and then use it as a ruse and say, "Oh, I was trying to help other passengers on the train." George Zimmerman, too, said that he feared for his life when he killed 16-year-old Trayvon Martin. Give me, like, folks, you can have your opinions, but we literally have got to dig deeper and really understand the root of what is happening here. What we are allowing ourselves to think of as normal. So the killing of a wealthy CEO, that's wrong. But the killing of Jordan Neely, that's okay? I like it, folks. We honestly, like, we have, like, our humanity is being tested right now. Our humanity is being tested by what it is that we allow to sit okay on our spirits. Those young people on the college campuses last year, right, were being told that they were radical, they were Antifa, they were this, that, and the other thing. Why? Because they care about what they are seeing come across their social media platforms. And what politicians were telling them is that, no, it's okay to see bits and pieces of babies that have been blown apart. It's okay to bomb hospitals and universities. And that somehow calling out this massive destruction and murder somehow makes them the villains. That's extraordinarily insane. But what I'm saying is that we continue to make these little compromises. This system, this killing machine, this system, it continues to have us make these compromises. And in the meantime, folks, we are compromising ourselves, our humanity, and our values, and it is destroying us. It is destroying us. This was a post that came across today. Elon Musk is now worth $400 billion. $400 billion. And this is being celebrated as opposed to being questioned. No person should be worth as much as a fucking country. While there are people that are going hungry, while there are people that are unhoused, while there are people that can't afford medication, and yet this is our new deity, Elon Musk, and this billionaire fucking oligarch class? Because they extract from us, and then we turn around and then worship their wealth. Folks, come on. Come on. We have got to see the writing that is on the wall right here. Right? Reality TV. Let me go off on a tangent for a minute. Reality TV started, right? Where it was like, oh, look at these poor saps. Look at these folks. Look at these people eating eyeballs, or look at these people living in trailer parks or what have you. And reality TV made us feel good about ourselves because we were not them. And then all of a sudden, it flipped the script. And we went back to, the lifestyle of the rich and famous. And all of a sudden now we're watching, right, the Real Housewives of this and the Kardashians and blah, 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 and Super Sweet 16 that. And everything, right, was about materialism. How much can you amass? How much can you flaunt? So much so that several of those Real Housewives would end up bankrupt or in jail because everything was smoke and mirrors and a lie. But they knew that if they could trick, right, the public into thinking that they were wealthy because we worship wealth, then they would be able to trade on their brands. Because we've been programmed into worshiping wealth, because wealth is somehow equated with intelligence, with brilliance. as opposed to just being a really good fucking scammer or being able to turn your millions into billions. You know, I harken back to the the film, the movie Wall Street. Remember the original Wall Street? Gordon Gekko and Greed is Good, right? We were all fed that. That's how people said, whatever happened to the hippies? They turned into yuppies, right? They like nice things. And so you feed on that and you give more and more and more. And then it just, you realize people are insatiable. The more they have, the more they want. It wasn't enough to just have a mansion. Now you need all of these McMansions. It wasn't enough, right, to fly first class. Now you have a PJ, you have a private jet, right? It's not like everything is about more and more and more. And so then you get here. This piece that was in The Hill back in September, thehill.com, Billionaire started a class war. Americans must fight back. Let me say this. This is what the author writes. Wealth is not a moral failing, and Americans have long revered the entrepreneurial spirit that animates small business owners to build a modest fortune for themselves and their families. But a growing class of malignant oligarchs has initiated a campaign to exert unchallenged control over our democratic institutions and our economy. The war has already started, and the billionaires have a significant head start. He goes on to say, like a cancer, billionaire control is metastasizing in every facet of America's socio-political and socio-economic system. They control newspapers, television stations, and every major social media platform. Last year, we learned the extent of oligarchical control over our judiciary when it was revealed that a handful of billionaires were showering Supreme Court justices with lavish vacations and obscenely inappropriate gifts. And folks, what happened after the big reveal of how Clarence Thomas has a sugar daddy? How Justice Alito has a sugar daddy? What happened? Not a goddamn thing. Right? So we know that, for instance, Peter Thiel, multi-billionaire, right-wing fascist, bought J.D. Vance and installed him in the Senate. We know that Chief Justice John Roberts allowed for, with the decision in Citizens United, an influx of overwhelming amount of money. That now, in order to run for office, it costs $1 billion plus. And now these people who have amassed this, well, it's not enough for them to have money, right? Money of like a small nation. No. Now they want our democracy. They want everything. They want the justice system. They want Congress. They want the presidency. And with this incoming regime, they have it all. And so when we sit back and we look at how we are continuing to be lied to, bamboozled, hustled out of our little bit of resources that we're trying to hold together like a bunch of squirrels as they are fucking shaking the trees. And their goal is to continue to pit us against one another so that we remain fighting over the scraps and the artificial scarcity that they create. But now, right, in order to ensure that we don't protest, that we don't rise up, they have the government too. Folks, it is yeah, I want to post this. If Elon paid 90% taxes, he'd still have $40 billion. Is that not sick? Right? I don't know if those exact numbers are right, but the fact is that if he actually did fucking right and paid taxes, he'd still be a multi-billionaire. His 11 fucking kids would still be taken care of, as well as their grandkids and their grandkids and so on and so forth. But they're insatiable. And there is never, never enough. Meanwhile, how did Donald Trump get into office this time? Lying to people about the economy, telling them that he alone can fix it. And then, oh, alas, today, as he's ringing in the bell for the stock exchange, what did he say, folks? Ooh, it's going to be very hard to lower grocery prices. The very thing that he told folks that he was going to do. But now he says, ooh, not going to be able to do that. Right? Surprise, surprise. And the Post says, oh, MAGA got played. Everybody did who thought that Donald Trump was actually going to make good on any of his words. Donald Trump has said to everyone while he was running for president that he was not interested in helping anyone. But it was okay because we all hate the same people. Folks, it is, I tell you that it's a dark place. It's a dark place that we're in. But I often say that we've been here before. These are conversations that have been had. And so I want to bring up, this is an excerpt from a piece that Frederick Douglass wrote for the Northern Star. And he said this: let me give you a word of the philosophy of reforms. The whole history of the progress of human liberty shows that all concessions yet made to her august claims have been born of earnest struggle. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are men who want crops without plowing the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the roar of its mighty waters. The struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one, or it may both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without demand. It never has, and it never will. Find out just what a people will submit to, and you have found out the exact amount of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them. And these will continue till they are resisted, with either words or blows, or with both. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. In the light of these ideas, Negroes will be hunted in the North and held and flogged at in the South so long as they submit to those devilish outrages and make no resistance, either moral or physical. Men may not get all they pay for in this world, but they must certainly pay for all they get. If we ever get free from the oppression and wrongs heaped upon us, we must pay for their removal. We must do this by labor, by suffering, by sacrifice, and if need be, by our lives and the lives of others. This is Frederick Douglass, y'all. Completely different time, completely different century. And yet offering the same truth. Greed, right? But if you can have people locked up in struggle, right? If you can figure out the social engineering and just how to oppress and what they will take, and if you give them a little bit of scraps, if you give white people a little bit more than black people, then right? They'll continue to go along with the get along in the oppression and the racism because they think that they are in within reach of Elon Musk. They're in within reach of, right? Zuckerberg. Just one lottery ticket away, one wish away. And so they continue to give the people, their oppressors, the power to step on their necks. It's just, this is why I say that this moment is not calling for us to follow the bouncing ball and all of the distractions that this second Trump regime are going to usher in. It is asking us, folks, to dig deeper, to get to the actual truth of the matter. I am not saying that wealth is bad. I am saying that greed is. I am saying that being celebrated for your thievery is the problem. That worshiping wealth, right? While most Americans can barely pull together emergency funding and emergency saving, not because they don't work hard, but because the system has been rigged for them to remain on an absolute fucking hamster wheel. And so long as you keep running and just trying to keep your head above water, you don't have time to really question and unearth and dig down into how you got into that situation in the first place. Because all of the messages are telling you that you are the problem and not the system, because the system is too big to fix. We are in a time of a great reveal. And there was at one time a young rapper and also a poet who offered up a lot of hard truths about America that folks didn't want to hear. And arguably, there are courses taught about his critique and analysis on America, and that is Tupac Shakur. And I want to offer, and I hope that it plays, a video of him talking about wealth and greed. This is one of the most famous, right, lines. Got money for war, but can't feed the poor. Right? Tupac Shakur, a child of a Black Panther, offered a deep critique on America using rap music being nothing more than poetry put to intense beats about the human experience. And of course, it is not going to play because Mercury is in retrograde and everything hates me. Here's what I will say. I'm going to put it in the chat because this video, Tupac talks about the fact that how can we live in a society where there are billionaires, where somebody can be worth, and at the time of this, right, he was talking about like $40 billion, right? I just showed you $400 billion somebody being worth. And he's saying, how is it that we can live in a society where somebody can have $40 billion and people are unhoused. That you can walk past people that are begging on the street that have nothing, and you have $3,000 in your pocket and you throw them 25 cents, and yet you want to judge how they're spending that money. He said, if you want to drink it, drink it. If you want to shoot it up, shoot it up. What you do is your business. But we would all have more if we thought in the collective. If we thought about actually what it is that it means to be part of a whole. And not find ourselves thinking that we are better, right? Because we have a little bit more money than the person that is begging. Folks, it is just one emergency. We are just one emergency, one disaster, one tragedy away from having our hand out and relying on the kindness of strangers. That's the situation that the insatiable greed of the 1% has put America in. And now they are getting ready to take control and power over everything. And if we do not stand united in this moment, in this time, they will succeed. But as we continue to say that no one, right, can make you inferior without your fucking consent. So we cannot fall for, folks, the lie that tells us that somehow because we have a little bit more than the person next to us, that somehow we are better. We're not. And things are going to get harder because they're purposefully being constructed in that way. Because a desperate people and an ignorant people are a malleable people. A desperate people and an ignorant people are a malleable people. Because you do not have the energy to withstand their blows, so you cower in defense before they even raise their hands. So we have to decide in this moment, right? Like how we are going to respond. What are we going to do? What are we going to allow? They already have a head start. They have the courts. They bought them. They bought this president. But they don't have all of us. And I would argue that they don't even have half of us. So how we move forward, is going to determine whether or not America succeeds, whether or not we're able to actually, right, hold on for dear life. And frankly, let's be real, whether or not the scraps that we are holding on to are even worth it. Because we need radical change. We don't need incremental progress anymore. Because everything that we have been fed has been a fucking lie. And the work here, the work left, is to unpack it. And deliver that message to those that have buried their heads in the sand. So I before I go into my call to action today, I do want to read you this poem by the late Nikki Giovanni that passed away this week. And she wrote it about Tupac. She wrote it about this messenger and his critique of America. All Eyes on You by Nikki Giovanni for Tupac Shakur, 1971 to 1996. As I tossed and turned, unable to achieve sleep, unable to control anxiety, unable to comprehend why, Tupac is not with us. If those who lived by the sword died by the sword, there would be no white men on earth. If those who lived on hatred died on hatred, there would be no KKK. If those who lived by lies and died by lies, there would be nobody on Wall Street, in executive suites, in academic offices, instructing the young. Don't tell me he got what he deserved. He deserved a chariot and the accolades of a grateful people. He deserved his life. It is as clear as a mountain stream, as defining as a lightning strike, as terrifying as sun to vampires. Tupac told the truth. There were those who called it dirty gangsta rap, inciting. There were those who never wanted to be angry at the conditions, but angry at the messenger who reported. Your kitchen has roaches, your toilet is overflowing, your basement has so much water, the rats are in the living room, your house is in disorder. And Tupac told you about it. What a beautiful boy, graceful carriage, melodic voice, sharp wit, intellectual breath. What a beautiful boy to lose. That is one of her most just poignant in the moment critique on America. You see, the powerful always go after the messengers. They try and make examples of them. They try and silence them. They call them traitors. They call them terrorists. They call them liars. They try and slander them for doing nothing more than telling the truth. Because the truth really will set us free. Knowledge really is power. Right? It is the ability to think, to ask questions. And what the powers that be, what they don't want now for certain is for you to be questioning. You just need to go along with the get along. You just need to live in the age of cover your own ass. You need to be the Christopher Wray that resigns in advance. You need to be the Joe Biden that says, welcome back. You need to be the Representative Clyburn that says, oh, but give him a pardon so we can have a clean slate. This place will never be clean because it was born out of blood and violence and torture and lies. So the way to fight back is by uncovering the truth. The way to fight back is to sharpen your intellect, is to be able to critique and to share what you learn. That's how you fight back. I say start a book club, right? Start a banned book club. My call to action today, dear friends, as I close out, is this. I am in the midst of rereading James Baldwin's The Fire Next Time. And I have to tell you, it is a short read, small read, but it is so dense, so rich, so brutal. And so my call to action is to pick up Baldwin, pick up Nikki Giovanni's work, their words, use them as food, as fuel, as nourishment. We are heading into extraordinarily dark times, and we need to be as full of the truth, using our ancestors, these thought leaders, these guides, these spiritual torches, these lights as our guides. So, what I say today, my call to action is to read. Read the words of those who you were never taught about. Go down a rabbit hole and wrap yourself in the words of Nikki Giovanni. She blew my mind away at 16, as I said earlier this week when I was introduced to her. It was the same with Baldwin. It was the same with Frederick Douglass. But ask yourself why the greatest revolutionaries you don't know about but stumble on. Ask them why they give you the sanitized versions of these people. It's okay, right, to recite Martin Luther King, but we ignore Malcolm X. It's okay for them to want to lift up the Confederacy as their history and deny us the Black Panthers that actually brought literacy programs and free food and medicine to the Black community when the white government was denying Black people care. They have made librarians the most dangerous people on the planet right now. Arm yourself with the truth. Open your mind. Go this weekend, find yourself into a bookstore. Say, I'm looking for Nikki Giovanni. I'm looking for Baldwin. I'm looking, right, for Toni Morrison. I'm looking for people whose names I don't even know. Why? Because you are on a search, you're on a hunt for the truth. Because you're tired of being lied to. So, while books are still with us, and while, as Erykah Badu says, it's still legal to think, fill yourself with as much truth as you possibly can, because you are going to be inundated with lies. And we need to ground ourselves, because the tsunami of fuckery that is headed our way will have us wondering which way is up and which way is down. Our knowledge is our power. So, my dear friends, that is it for me this week on the Danielle Moodie Show. As always, you know that tomorrow is Democracy-ish, which will be live at 12 p.m. Eastern. So do join Wajahat and I back here at 12 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. And I just want to say again, I thank you all so much for your donations, for your generosity. Every dollar towards independent media helps independent content creators be able to continue to tell the truth, right? To be able to bring you the kind of information that you need, right? And that you deserve. So I thank you so much for continuing to support my work with your treasure. It means the world to me. And as always, friends, please, if you are liking this show, please like, comment, and subscribe. Please help the algorithm. Also, dear friends, I am on a quest to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. 10,000 subscribers. I am halfway there. And so please share this show, post it on your channels, share the channel with people, bring them on. If you have not yet liked and subscribed, please do consider doing so. It is free. So continue to show up, and we will continue to do the work. Oh, what is a good book by Baldwin to start with? I will tell you. The Fire Next Time, I think, is extraordinary. So you can get that. You can, pull it up. The Fire Next Time is a book that I would recommend. And for Nikki Giovanni, I would recommend Black Feeling, Black Talk, and Black Judgment as well as a place to start. Or her latest, her last book will be coming out in 2025. But I am also going to be picking up A Good Cry, which was Nikki Giovanni's book that came out, I want to say last year. And that is out as well. As always, dear friends, power to the people and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane. And in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, please stay safe. I will see you back here tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern for Democracy Ish. And the Danielle Moodie Show will be back on Monday. All be well, and I appreciate you.